Hello friends, it's Cassie and welcome back for another Trinity stamps video. Today we're going to be making a 5x7 card. I'm obsessed with those right now, but before we get into making, let's talk about what we're using. I have this darling Cozy Cottage Porch stamp set. I just love all the little elements in here for scene building, and then I also have the matching dies, and those dies are fabulous. That door can actually open, believe it or not. So those are the Cozy Cottage Porch stamps and dies. We're also going to bring in this oldie but goodie Scalloped Slimline die. I just want the banner from there. And then we have the brand new 9x4 Rainbow Bright paper, which is super beautiful. So let's do our stamping. I have some Express It cardstock that I've put into my Misty, and I am going to ink up the porch, or the swing, with some Blackout ink by Ink on 3. I'm only going to be doing a very little bit of Copic coloring on here, but this is a good combination for that. So now I've got these little stars, and they're only stars because from a previous project, they're considered, in my opinion, just some scrap paper that I had. I planned to use them for a different project, but this just worked so well. So what I'm doing is I am stamping each of those pillows onto one of those stars. We're doing dots, now stripes, that'll be the middle pillow, and then that far right pillow is going to be dots again. So this is just a fun way to use up your scraps that you have and to do a little bit of paper piecing. All right, now that that's done, let's do our Copic coloring. Super simple, easy. I've got my C1 Copic, and I'm just putting down just a light wash of color for start. I tend to like to do that, and I usually like to go lightest to darkest, and then we'll bring in our C3 just to add a little bit of dimension and some shading. And just using flicking motions, and then once we're happy with that, we'll come back in with that C1 and blend that out a little bit more. So it just adds a little bit of highlight and shading. Our next color is Y26. That's going to be our bottom cushion. So we've got Y26, simple wash of that, and then we'll bring in some YR24, and I'm actually not going to blend that out. I like the contrast there. So flicking motions, and then we'll move on to trimming out our pillows. Now this is just some simple fussy cutting. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like it, but this is so easy, and all I'm doing is making sure that I keep those black lines. So I'm cutting right on the outside of it. If you don't like that it has like a white edge, you can bring in a black marker just to ink up that edge a little bit, or even run it along your stamp pad. But I'm just simply cutting out each one of those pillows. Very simple. And then I can't leave it there because it will look pretty flat otherwise. I mean, it's pretty cool. I love paper piecing, such an old but fun technique. I'm going to bring in that C3 Copic and add a little bit of shading on each of these pillows where I think it might be. And then that adds a little more depth to them. And then we'll start gluing down each of our pieces. I used to do so much paper piecing back when I first started card making, and it's just such a fun technique, an old technique, but so super fun. And I don't know why I don't do it more often now. Probably because there's just so many more fun things on the market these days. All right, next we'll bring in our matching dies, which is only for that swing, and then I'm going to bring in the Scalloped Slimline die, just the banner that I want, along with the pieces that it needs, and I'm going to tack that down with a little bit of low tack tape. And then I'll end up running this through my die cutting machine. And once that's all die cut out, next we'll pull out a sentiment to stamp, trying to center it on that piece of the banner. And this one just says, "From our home to yours." And we'll ink that up with that Blackout ink once again. And I did a pretty good job centering that. I was surprised. And then we'll bring in our 5x7 card base, and then this patterned paper, I cut that down to 5 inches by 4 inches. But before we actually do any assembly, I want to stamp on the inside, so I've just folded it over, and I'm putting this back in my Misty, and I'm lining up our swing at the top, and then I'm going to bring in some Bee Sting Yellow by Ink on 3. It looks like it makes a giant mess when I stamp it down, but it's a pretty squishy ink pad. And then I'll just stamp that down, and we have no issues with getting yellow everywhere, and then I'll just clean that off. Super easy. Our next step would be to bring in that final sentiment, which is congratulations on your new home. That one also comes from the Cozy Cottage, Porch. So very fun. All right, then we'll reinforce that score line, and then we can start putting down our patterned paper. And I love all the rainbow colors that are in this pack. It's gorgeous, and you get 2 of each one. All right, so I've put that down. Next, we'll put down our porch, or I mean our swing, just using some liquid glue as well. I thought about popping it up with a little bit of foam tape, but I thought this worked just fine too. And then I'm going to stick down just the little flag ends, putting those right on that edge just to make sure that I have plenty of room for everything. And then we'll take our sentiment and we're going to put some foam tape on the back of that. There's where we have some dimension. And then we'll peel off that release paper and center that over the top of our little flag ends. I love that for this. And then we're going to bring in some embellishments. These are the Rainbow Reflection Rhinestone mix, and I've got my pickup stick and some glue. Put it in that tidy tray, which works great. And then easy cleanup. Put a few of those down. And then once that's done, because this is an A7 or 5x7, I have to make an envelope. So I've pulled in the A7 envelope builder die and just cut that out of some specialty paper that I had, specialty cardstock. And it also puts those score lines in there, so I'm just reinforcing all those score lines. And then it's easy assembly. I'm just going to use liquid glue. I find that that is the best for me for a strong adhesive, because if you've put this much effort into making a card, the last thing you want is for that envelope to fall apart. And I've actually had that happen. That was so sad. The recipient got the envelope, but no card in there, which was so sad. So make sure you use a very strong adhesive when you're putting your envelopes together. And you do the side flaps first, and then you put your bottom piece. And then you'll also put your top piece. And it's just so fun to make your own envelopes. So you can make them any color you want. And out of just about any kind of paper you want as well. All right, now that that is all put together, we'll start pushing our sides in together. And I like to put a strip of glue right on the edge of each of those pieces. Glue that together, and then you can glue your bottom part. Obviously, you're going to have to wait to glue the top part until you have your card in there. But there you have it, an A7 envelope along with an A7 card, and I just really love how this turned out. It's pretty simple, but packs a punch. So if you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by and checking us out. All right, we'll see you soon. Bye.